Okay, it's so fun and exciting. Thank you for joining me on 8. I am Maggie, and we are on day 76 of the Momentum Challenge, which is extraordinary. And we are just moving along with heart and mind aligned. And so what are we doing? We're working on the beautiful complete works of Florence Shinn, and we are on the power of the word. So we read the chapters twice so we can marinate in it, and now I'm doing the point. I'm doing like point by point. So you might want to grab one of these points or grab one of these tools and use it as your wand in whatever you are working on. That being said, I just want to take this moment, okay, real quick. Let's invite in the angels. Okay, thank you, angels, and thank you, God. Thank you, universe. Thank you for the spirit of everything great and wonderful that's here to support us. So I wanted to just say a quick prayer and like just opening that may God just bless all the children everywhere. May whatever they need to heal or to be well or to be cared for or to be fed and clothed, I want to just send that out from our hearts into the world. We lift up every child that they may be loved, protected, fed, cared for, and have everything they need. Okay, day 76, let's get to this. So we are in the power of the word. Okay, so point 1, the power of the word. Our words have power. Point 2, or tool, however you want to look at it. So by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned. So whatever we speak, we are bringing forward. 3, a person who knows the power of their words becomes very careful in conversation. So everyone's here, everyone, as we're working on things, we are understanding the power of our words. So watch what you're saying to yourself. Bruce Lee always said that don't ever play around with what you speak because your body doesn't know any difference and it takes it as truth. So never speak to yourself negatively. Now, not just Bruce Lee, but a lot of us, we love Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee had such a command over his mind, his body, and his spirit. And he was able to do, like how when he got hurt and paralyzed, he was able to get his mind in alignment so that he could heal himself. So don't ever say bad things to your body. Don't say bad things to other people. And if you're in the process of working on it, don't beat yourself up with. Just keep working on the power of your words. Okay. So we know our conversations, we know our words are powerful. So the next point I want to say is that we know that when we speak words, nothing that we speak returns void. Meaning that if you speak abundance, you will receive abundance. If you speak love, you will receive love. If you speak wisdom, you will receive wisdom. So let's be very cognitive of what our words are speaking, because our words are powerful. And we are going to be able to look around and see how our spoken words affect others. I mean, there's a ton of research where they play certain music or they speak to a certain way to the plants, and the plants that are spoken to in a loving, uplifting way grow, blossom, do all these things. And the other plants who are, low vibrational music and talk to like crap, they don't flourish. They like wither. We are the same, right? We are God's creation, so we want to speak life. Okay, and our words don't come back void. So let's speak life. Let's speak money. Let's speak wealth. Let's speak abundance. Let's speak health. The number one wealth is health. Okay, tool number 5 or point 5. Through his spoken word, man is continually making laws for himself. So point 5 is our words make law. So what kind of laws are you speaking into your life? Are you speaking in the law of abundance? Are you speaking in the law of health? Are you speaking in the law of wealth? Are you speaking in the law of organization, or maybe you're speaking something for the children, right? What is our words are creating law. When we started out this video, we spoke life for the children. We spoke health for the children. We spoke wealth for the children. We spoke for them to have everything they need. These words will not come back void. Okay, point number 6, or tool. Oh, it's story. So it's about the man who misses, he's always missing the car, and his daughter who's always catching the car, because each of them has set up a law. He says he always misses the car, and she says, I always get the car. So that's the story. And so through the process of their spoken word, they each set up laws for themselves, right? So point number 7, the law 1 was failure, missing the car. The other law was success, getting the car, right? So what is the laws that you are speaking? Are you speaking in laws of failure? Blah, 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 sickness, blah, 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 debt, blah, 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 blah. Or are you speaking in success? Blah, 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 health, blah, 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 wealth, blah, 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 hair growth, blah, 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 energy. What are you speaking? So, and that is called the psychology of superstitions, right? Because whatever we believe, the thing that we believe has the power, right? There's a saying that if you want to know who has power over you, look at who you cannot speak freely or honestly with. So we want to speak power. We want to speak wisdom. We also want to speak justice and balance. We are not like loose cannons. We want to do God's will, and we know what higher order values are, and we know that we should not be harming one another. And there we go. Okay, now tool 8, or point 8. So this is about where she gives the story, or she talks about the horseshoe or the rabbit's foot. And she says that these things in and of themselves have no power, right? You don't want to be put like this pen is the power, right? So if man spoken word, and if man speaks word and they believe that it will bring him good luck, then they will receive good luck. And so that luck creates expectancy in the subconscious mind. So when somebody is using like a horseshoe or rabbit foot, if they're not putting the power in the pen or in the rabbit foot or in the horseshoe, like that's the power, then they're going to know what empower, that's like just a tool to help them create expectancy in their subconscious mind. It's just another encourager on the road of life, right? And all of us have something, like some of us might have pictures of loved ones. Others of us might have crystals. Others might have the cross with Jesus on it. Like other people might have a Hawaiian lei, or what do you call the totems of like stacked up upon each other, or statues, something that invokes, okay, like Archangel Michael or whatever it is. And these things, the power isn't in there. It's a reminder of the expectancy of the goodness that we expect. And it's encouraging. So this is the other thing though, point number 9. And this is something that I have found as I've gone on in my journey. When I was at a lower level of consciousness, things like that was more helpful. So number 9, I want to say as a point or a tool, she says that she finds though, however, this will not work when a man has advanced spiritually and knows the higher law. So the thing about it is, we are the first cause. A particle, the fractal of God, a particle of God is in each one of us. And when we begin to realize that we are God, and God is in us acting out, we can also be the devil if we are being that. When we begin to realize we are creating the universe right from inside of our temple, inside of our clay jars, inside of our miracle bodies, we begin to realize that, the power is not out there or somewhere over there. It's right inside of me, and I need to know how I use it. So I want to add that as a point, because sometimes as you're growing, certain spiritual tools that you use are working. And then you hit, like, you kind of plateau and you hit like a glass ceiling and you think, God, where are you? I feel like you left me here. I don't understand what's going on, or why is this happening? That's when you got to keep moving, leaning into your spiritual tools, because you're about to have a breakthrough. The things that ordinarily used to work aren't going to work anymore, because you're about to break that glass ceiling and walk into a higher vibrational state. Oh, I'm getting chicken skin just thinking about it. So I want you to be encouraged wherever you are at in your spiritual journey, because God is forever leaving clues and tips and encouragement and people and whatever along the way to remind you how loved you are and how much you are a creator in the universe. Okay. Number 10. Oh, point number 10 is 10. It's the lucky monkey businessman story. So she's talking about the two men, right? And they went into business and they wanted success. And then they got those lucky monkeys. And what did they do? They put all their power into the lucky monkeys, affirming and looking for the, success to come through the monkeys, instead of affirming and looking for their success and prosperity from God, right? God. So she basically told them, hey guys, the lucky monkeys aren't where your success and your prosperity comes from. God is where your success and prosperity comes from. And so she then told them, point number 11, the law of forgiveness. She told them to put away the lucky monkeys and to call upon the law of forgiveness. For man has the power to forgive and neutralize his mistakes. Okay, so you're forgiving yourself for putting the power in something else. You're neutralizing that mistake so that the power of God can roll thunder and lightning and sunshine and rain and everything else through you and shine bright through you. Like, we are all these bright lights, and don't let anything dim it. Like, when you start to realize how much God is alive in you, like when you see somebody alive, breathing, walking, talking, animated, and then you see that life force dimmed through maybe their sickness or something's happened and the light's not so dim, you really come into this place where you really feel so grateful for the God particle that is within you and your ability as a creator to create in the universe in higher order values. And it's just powerful to know that if you are alive, you are here for a very specific purpose, and it's not an accident, and you are tremendously loved. So you need to wrestle around with that to figure out what it is. So if we find ourselves putting the power in the monkey or in the whatever, we can use the law of forgiveness, and in essence that will neutralize those mistakes, and then we can move on and get right back to the sitting in the seat as God in charge. Okay, point number 12. Okay, so she's talking about this woman. She's talking 12. She talks about this woman with the lucky horseshoe. So she's saying, do not rely on the object, let it remind you. That's the expectancy. So basically the woman was in quite a bit of despair, and she was walking through the street and she saw a horseshoe, so she picked it up, and it reminded her, it gave her expecting, and it reminded her that God was the one power. Okay, so I'm getting myself a little mixed up here, but I'm going to say point number 12. Do not rely on the object. Let it remind you. So the lucky ornament or horseshoe about the house, let's see, recognize that the power back of it is the one and only one power, God, and that the object simply gives you a feeling of expectancy. Okay, 13. Okay, so the horseshoe woman. So she said, okay, so she was walking through the street. She was in despair, crossing the street, and she picked up a horseshoe. And immediately she said that God sent her that horseshoe in order to keep up her courage. So she didn't give the power to the horseshoe. She recognized that God put that in her path. I think a lot of us, like, I remember one time I was having some financial struggles, and I was going through things, and it was so incredible. But as I was walking to my car, I found the dollar on the ground, and it was tremendously encouraging me, because I know God put that dollar there to remind me that He was my provider and He was going to take care of me. So, let the horseshoe, let the monkey, let the crystal, let whatever it is, let it encourage you, and let it remind you of the one power, but also let it create that expectancy that something great is going to happen to you. Okay. Also, with this woman, her hope became faith, and then her faith became a demonstration. And she recognized that the power that backed that horseshoe was God. And so she was able to get a tremendous demonstration of what that she wanted. So I know in my case, it took a long while. Okay, so this is point 15. We're past the woman with the horseshoe. So the horseshoe was a reminder from God that she was going to have a wonderful demonstration and that things were going to work out for her. All right, point number 15. Things don't disappoint. So we sometimes try to titrate our emotions to, like, letting things either make us happy or make us sad. I think this is so important. Florence talks about how, in her case, it took her a long while to get out of the belief that certain things brought disappointment. I think that's major for us, because we want to start to remain in this, like, if we can, in the consciousness scale above courage, but we want to be holding these vibrations and understanding that things can't disappoint us. We are grounded in the one power of God, and therefore we can hold a beautiful, positive, healthy outlook. So things don't disappoint. And this is what Florence says. There are not two powers. There is only one power, God. Therefore, there is no disappointments, and thus this means a happy surprise. So she began to shift her perspective. Instead of being titrated through disappointments, she began to look at it like, okay, this means there's a happy surprise. And she began to train herself to not be trained by outside things to be disappointed. She trained herself to stay in a even keel, high expectory place, and because of it, she was able to cultivate tons of good for herself and tons of good for others. When you study Neville Goddard's work, it's the same thing. He was able to cultivate tons of good for him and tons of good for others, same as Jesus. Tons of good for himself, tons of good for everyone. Joseph Murphy, the same thing. Tons of good for himself, tons of good for others. That's what we're here to do. We are here to cultivate tons of good for ourselves, and also in doing so, tons of good for others. We're not here to, linger in some languishing state of misery. So that's point 16. That's the one power equals surprises. Okay, we are going to put ourselves into that one power, no divide. Okay, number 17, that's the ladder lady. Remember the ladder lady? And so she was just terrified to walk under a ladder. And basically Florence told her, hey, if you're afraid, you're giving power into the belief of two powers. So good and evil instead of just one, the one power of God. And so the lady went to the bank, and of course she wanted to go into her vault. And what ended up happening was, for her to be able to get in her little box in the bank, there was a ladder. And so she left and she walked away. But as she was walking away, she realized, she caught herself, boop, stop. And she realized, oh my gosh, I'm doing the, 2-power thing. So she knew that she needed to retrace her steps. She had to go back to the bank and she had to do the 1-power thing. And when she got back to the bank, what happened? Because she faced her fears and she believed in the 1 power of God, the ladder wasn't there anymore. So she didn't have to go through anything. So anyway, when she reached the street, Florence's words rang in her ears. That's why, guys, the law of our the power of our word. Speak good to people, so maybe your words will ring in their ears in a really critical point when they might be down and out, and they might remember you and be encouraged of the 1 power of God that's going to uplift them wherever they are. But anyway, Florence's words rang in her ears, and she decided to return and walk under the ladder. And of course, like I said, once she got there, the ladder was no longer there. And so point number 18 is called ladder be gone. So Florence says, this is so often what happens. If one is willing to do a thing he is afraid to do, or she is afraid to do, they usually don't have to do it, right? In nursing, we have this saying that if you have it, you won't need it. A lot of times, especially in the critical care areas, we would prepare for all kinds of things. Now, if you needed it, you had it there and you could just pop it out. But a lot of times when you had things, you never ever needed it. So it's kind of that similar thing. If you face your fear, and then especially if you face your fear, so let's say that you did face your fear, you go back and the ladder's there. I'm going to tell you right now, you're about to crush paradigms and crush fear. Because once you walk under that ladder and you are walking under that ladder with the 1 cause, the 1 power, the 1 God, nothing could touch you anymore. You are no longer living in that fear state. So once you break through that, you start to move through courage and, love and joy and all these other things. So here we go. Okay, and then Florence says that it's the law of non-resistance, which is so little understood. So if we don't resist, so we call that in nursing too the path of least resistance. The blood will flow in the path of least resistance. Air will move in the path of least resistance. A lot of times we in life will move in the path of, least resistance. So if you resist, things persist. If you don't resist and you just allow things to move through, like for instance, let's say you're avoiding grief. And then you begin to say, okay, I'm going to face this grief. And of course, it moves through your body. You can be shaky, you can cry. But once you actually allow it to move through you, then it's done. So that's the law of non-resistance. Okay, point number 19, or tool number 19. Someone has said that the courage contains genius and magic. So courage contains genius and magic. So face a situation fearlessly and there is no situation to face. It falls away on its own weight. Also too, like I said, if you face a fear too and it's still there, once you face it and move through it, it no longer has the same power. It begins to dissipate immediately. And that's kind of really important, for instance, like with anxiety, because a lot of times people feel like, oh my God, we've been trained, and oh my God, this is not normal, la, 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 la. And then you're trying to avoid the anxiety and trying to do all these things. Actually, if you just, let the anxiety sort of move through you, which is actually an energy you can actually use to make tasks happen, you start to realize, wow, when I begin to do that, the anxiety begins to dissipate. And I don't have that anymore. And anxiety is actually a part of the normal body. You're supposed to have sometimes anxiety. You're supposed to have fears. You're supposed to have anger. All these things. It's but when you get stuck in a bandwidth and you're always angry or you're always anxious or all these things, that's not balance. So we're working through all of this. Okay, point 20. The explanation is that fear attracted the ladder on the woman's pathway and fearlessness removed it. So whatever you are working through, be fearless. There's a really great book out there called Feel fear and do it anyway. It really talks to you about over and over again, as you face your fears, they begin to dissipate. And I want to just encourage us all here that as we are facing our version of a ladder, we can do it, and we will do it, and we are doing it because we trust in the one power, which is God. Okay, and point 21. This is one of Florence Shinn's treatments. So here we go. Thus, the invisible forces are ever working for man who is always pulling the strings, himself or herself, though he or she does not know it, but we know it. Owing to the vibrational power of words, whatever man voices, he begins to attract. So I'm going to stop there, because whatever we are voicing, we are going to attract. So let's all speak life. Let's all speak health. Let's all speak wealth. Let's all speak the very, very best of ourselves and each other's and our children and the plants and the elders, the kapuna, everything under the sun. Let's just speak. Let's take the power of our words and let's bring down Jericho's walls, meaning let's bring down the fears. Let's bring down the hate. Let's bring down the anger. Let's bring down the illness. Let's bring down whatever is causing people to live in these separate cells of hate and jealousy and envy. Let's just bring them all down with the vibration of the power of our words. Whew. Oh, I'm getting chicken food on that too. Okay, so those are 21 points, 21 tools that you might be able to grab on and ride that horse into the sunset, or that unicorn or dragon or whatever you're into. All right, I want to thank you so much for joining me on day 76 of the Momentum Challenge. I love you all, and I'm just very thankful for you. If you would please hit subscribe and like, and leave your positive comments. Let me know what tool that you might be, what tool in your wand that you might be yielding in your life, okay? And as we know, the power in the wand is the one power God. So let your words be your wand. But that's coming up. All right. Well, thank you for joining me, and just may you be in peace. Thank you.